15 forgotten vegetables grandparents cultivated for survival during the Great Depression. During the era of ration books and victory gardens, getting by depended on more than just determination. It hinged upon the land. Our grandparents understood how to maximize every seed, root, and leafy green to create a substantial meal. These unassuming vegetables were common kitchen ingredients during the Great Depression, yet most have disappeared from today's produce selections. Come along as we unearth 15 overlooked vegetables that enabled families to endure the most challenging periods and perhaps warrant a resurgence. Swiss chard. Amidst the economic difficulties of the Great Depression, Swiss chard was a significant presence, both physically and metaphorically. Although contemporary supermarkets might pass it over for more widely favored greens during the 1930s, this robust leafy vegetable was a necessity in gardens. Resilient, quick to mature, and full of nutrients, Swiss chard served as a preferred choice for households needing to make their meals go further and feed their families with what the land offered. Featuring brightly hued stems in a spectrum of colors and abundant, textured foliage, Swiss chard provided both visual appeal and nourishment in backyard plots. It flourished even in subpar soil, yielded several harvests per season, and withstood both high temperatures and mild freezes, rendering it ideal for enterprising home gardeners seeking dependability in unpredictable periods. Swiss chard's status as a Depression-era staple stemmed not only from its resilience, but also its adaptability. The leaves were suitable for sautéing like spinach, adding to soups and stews, or consuming raw in salads. The stems, frequently discarded now, were highly valued then, prepared by boiling, baking, or pickling into zesty snacks. Every portion of the plant was utilized. In an age where each mouthful was crucial, Swiss chard delivered. Abundant in iron, magnesium, and vitamins A, C, and K, it sustained families when meat was limited and store-purchased food was a rarity. Even though it has largely fallen out of favor in modern cooking, Swiss chard is gradually reappearing among home cultivators and chefs. It's time to bring this overlooked favorite back into our kitchens, not merely for sentimentality, but for its aesthetic appeal, nutritional value, and the quiet fortitude it embodies. After all, if it aided our grandparents in surviving the worst, perhaps it offers precisely what we need today. Ground cherries, hidden within the recollections of old family farms and well-worn recipe collections, is one of the Great Depression's most guarded secrets, the unassuming ground cherry. Contrary to their name, ground cherries are not actual cherries. These golden marble-like fruits develop inside papery coverings, resembling tiny lanterns concealed beneath the foliage of a spreading plant. Offering a sweet, tangy, and subtly tropical taste, ground cherries were a cherished delight during difficult times, providing both sustenance and a welcome hint of sweetness when sugar was in short supply. Simple to cultivate even in less fertile soil, ground cherries were a blessing in the 1930s. Families grew them in home gardens and victory plots, gathering baskets full by the end of summer. Their adaptability increased their worth. They could be enjoyed fresh, processed into jams and preserves, incorporated into pies, or stored for the winter season. Crucially, ground cherries demanded little attention, prospering with minimal water and resisting pests more effectively than many sensitive crops. What rendered them exceptional, however, extended beyond their flavor. It was their capacity to offer comfort to families during times of uncertainty. A bit of ground cherry jam on cornbread seemed like an indulgence, a signal that even amidst hardship, nature offered something sweet. Nowadays, ground cherries are almost absent from large-scale farming, yet their hardiness, appeal, and significant history make them prime candidates for a revival. With adequate sun, soil, and traditional patience, you can reintroduce this Depression-era treasure to your meals and experience a flavor from the past that your grandparents cherished. Hamburg-rooted parsley. Well before kale gained prominence and fashionable root vegetables populated farmers' markets, Hamburg-rooted parsley was unobtrusively nourishing families through some of America's most challenging periods. Recognized for its dual utility, this traditional vegetable wasn't cultivated solely for its feathery green tops. The focus was on the substantial parsnip-like root concealed underground. During the Great Depression, when maximizing garden space was essential, vegetables needed to offer more than just visual appeal. They required hardiness, versatility, and the ability to satisfy hunger, qualities Hamburg possessed. Its roots lent themselves to roasting, boiling, mashing, or adding to stews, imparting a gentle, earthy taste that extended meat-free meals and fed hungry individuals. Concurrently, the green tops served a dual role as a fresh herb for flavoring soups or enhancing otherwise plain dishes. This overlooked treasure stands as evidence of our grandparents' resourcefulness. While modern grocery displays prioritize more eye-catching vegetables, Hamburg-rooted parsley was a reliable, low-effort, cold-resistant crop that flourished in home gardens and victory plots. It kept well over winter, ensuring its availability when other options were scarce. Though seldom found in contemporary kitchens, this Depression-era essential merits rediscovery. It exemplifies the type of vegetable, reminding us that food need not be elaborate to be tasty or important. If you desire a connection to the past or wish to cultivate a hearty root, consider Hamburg-rooted parsley again. This modest hero deserves a comeback. Winter radish. Long preceding the era of trendy farmers markets and organic certifications, winter radishes were the quiet champions of survival. During the Great Depression, with food scarce and every meal vital, families relied on substantial, dependable crops like the winter radish to fill their plates and supplement their pantry goods. In contrast to the small, pungent radishes often added to salads today, winter radishes are bigger, more robust, and designed for longevity, flourishing in cold earth when most other plants have succumbed. Esteemed for their extended storage potential and hardiness, winter radish varieties such as daikon, black Spanish, and watermelon could be gathered late in the growing season and kept through the cold months. These radishes delivered impact, not merely in taste but also nutritionally. Rich in vitamin C and abundant in fiber, they added substance to meals and assisted families in staying nourished under strict financial constraints. Our grandparents utilized every part of the winter radish. They roasted them for warmth, grated them into stews, pickled them for long-term storage, and even sautéed the peppery greens. These durable root vegetables didn't just endure the cold, they helped families endure difficult times. Today, winter radishes have largely faded from regular kitchens, supplanted by more visually appealing, quicker-cooking vegetables. However, they are experiencing a quiet resurgence among gardeners and chefs who value their strong flavor, rustic appeal, and modest history. Reviving the winter radish is not just about sentimentality. It reflects resilience, resourcefulness, and remembering the foods that sustained a generation. If you aim to grow something with deep roots, both literally and historically, the winter radish is a hidden treasure worth uncovering. Navy beans. Throughout the Great Depression, when fiscal prudence was paramount and food availability was a constant worry, navy beans represented more than a mere pantry item. They were a crucial support system. These small white legumes got their designation from being favored by the U.S. Navy. Valued for their extended shelf stability, affordability, and significant nutritional benefits, navy beans emerged as a representation of endurance, ingenuity, and solace for struggling households nationwide. What contributed to the essential nature of navy beans? Their adaptability. Ranging from basic bean soups cooked on wood stoves to substantial casseroles enhanced with available leftovers, navy beans served as the versatile foundation of Depression-era cuisine. They readily absorbed flavors, extended modest meals to feed large families, and supplied protein, fiber, and vital nutrients at a much lower cost than meat. Our grandparents viewed them not as fashionable or unusual, but as reliable, filling, and consistently welcome additions to meals. Some families even cultivated them in home gardens or exchanged dried beans with neighbors, establishing them as a genuine community resource. Moving to the present day, navy beans have discreetly retreated into the background, overshadowed by more prominent ingredients. Yet, as more individuals embrace sustainable, economical eating habits, these humble beans are poised for a renaissance. Whether incorporated into stews, processed into dips, or baked into a traditional New England-style preparation, navy beans demonstrate that sometimes the most basic foods possess the richest heritage. Let's acknowledge the overlooked bean that contributed to nourishing a nation, one serving at a time. Salsify. In the resilient period of the Great Depression, survival necessitated leveraging everything the earth provided. Salsify was among those covert garden champions, frequently called the oyster plant due to its faint, briny taste. When cooked, salsify was a fixture in numerous backyard plots. Although largely forgotten now, this robust root vegetable was once prized for its flexibility, nutritional content, and unexpectedly pleasant flavor. Resembling a slender parsnip with coarse tanned skin, salsify doesn't immediately catch the eye. Yet, beneath its modest appearance lies a creamy, subtle flavor that evoked oysters for Depression-era cooks, positioning it as a favored and economical. Our grandparents recognized its value, even though today's grocery parsnip. During the Great Depression, when each morsel counted and wastefulness was unthinkable, the parsnip served as an understated hero in innumerable gardens. This unassuming root vegetable, frequently confused with a pale carrot, was a dietary mainstay for our grandparents, valued not only for its accessibility, but also for its adaptability and nutritional benefits. Parsnips flourished in cold climates and marginal soil, making them well-suited for backyard cultivation and victory gardens. They could remain in the ground well past the first frost, even becoming sweeter in the cold as their starches converted to natural sugars. This delicate sweetness rendered parsnips a welcome indulgence when sugar was limited and dessert was an extravagance. Incorporated into pancakes by grating, prepared like mashed potatoes, roasted with meats, or simmered in stews, parsnips added warmth and complexity to Depression-era cuisine. Some families even utilized them in mock apple pies or as a natural sweetener in baked items. Rich in fiber, vitamins, and complex carbohydrates, they satisfied hunger and helped extend meals, a critical need when food was rationed and finances were constrained. Despite their hardiness and culinary possibilities, parsnips gradually lost favor on modern tables, overtaken by more striking vegetables and convenient pre-packaged options. However, their story is far from finished. With the current resurgence of interest in heirloom foods, sustainable gardening, and plant-focused nutrition, the parsnip is ready for a resurgence. Rediscovering this forgotten root is akin to accessing a flavorful segment of history, one that recalls how resourcefulness and simplicity once governed the dinner table. So, the next occasion you encounter this creamy white root at a farmer's market or in a grocery store, don't overlook it. Give it a chance. Your grandparents would approve. Collard greens. When the Great Depression began, families lacked the privilege of being selective eaters or using exotic ingredients. They relied on the soil for sustenance, and few vegetables secured their place at the table as firmly as collard greens. Robust, nutrient-dense, and remarkably versatile, collard greens served as a vital resource for countless households, particularly throughout the American South. Cultivated in backyard gardens and small patches of land, collards were valued for their capacity to prosper in poor soil and endure cold spells that would destroy more fragile crops. These wide, dark green leaves did more than just feed families. They provided essential nourishment. Filled with vitamins A, C, and K, along with calcium and fiber, collard greens represented the type of food that satisfied hunger and maintained strength during lean periods. Grandmothers possessed the skill to transform a simple pot of collards into something noteworthy. Cooked slowly over low heat with a little salt, perhaps enhanced with a ham hock or available meat scraps, they converted modest greens into a flavorful, comforting dish. Accompanied by cornbread or served over rice, collard greens were not merely survival fare. They symbolized resilience, tradition, and cleverness. Today, collard greens have diminished from many contemporary menus, eclipsed by fashionable kale or prepackaged salad blends. Yet this leafy stalwart merits a revival. Its flavor is pronounced, its nutritional profile is exceptional, and its history is profoundly connected to the fortitude of those who preceded us. Reacquainting ourselves with collard greens transcends food. It involves honoring the past, reclaiming lost wisdom, and recalling that sometimes the simplest elements are the most impactful. Thus, the next time you consider planting something meaningful, follow your grandparents' example and allow collard greens to flourish once more. Kentucky Wonder Pole beans. Throughout the Great Depression, every square inch of ground was invaluable, and few plants justified their space as effectively as the renowned Kentucky Wonder Pole beans, characterized by their tall, climbing vines, crisp pods, and deep, earthy taste. These beans were not just a garden mainstay, they were essential for survival. Introduced in the 19th century and passed down through generations, Kentucky Wonder beans rightly earned their reputation. They were simple to cultivate, produced abundant yields, and were rich in vital nutrients during a period when store-bought food was an unaffordable luxury for most families. With adequate sunlight, water, and a simple homemade support structure, these vines could yield consistent harvests for weeks, sufficient to feed a hungry family with leftovers for canning. What distinguished them? Their adaptability. Grandmothers incorporated them into stews, casseroles, and flavorful side dishes that transformed scraps into substantial meals. Whether simmered with salt pork or preserved in jars for winter use, Kentucky Wonder beans were a key player in the Depression era. However, as modern supermarkets stocked imported vegetables and fast food meals gained popularity, these unassuming beans gradually faded from prominence. Currently, they are seldom seen, more commonly found in heirloom seed collections than on dinner plates. Nevertheless, for those who recall them, Kentucky Wonder Pole beans embody the taste of resilience, ingenuity, and simpler times. And for individuals who haven't grown them, perhaps it's time for a comeback. In a world rediscovering the importance of self-reliance and homegrown food, these overlooked climbing plants are poised for their next resurgence. Dandelion. When considering dandelions, one might envision a cheerful weed appearing in the lawn, its vibrant yellow blossoms nodding in the wind. However, for grandparents who experienced the Great Depression, this common plant was more than an irritant. It was a crucial resource. During the 1930s, with food scarce and finances even tighter, dandelions served as an essential source of nourishment. Every portion of the plant, from roots to leaves to flowers, was utilized effectively. The tender young leaves were collected in early spring for a zesty, nutrient-rich salad, whereas the older, more fibrous leaves were often boiled to reduce bitterness and improve palatability. Dandelion greens provided substantial amounts of vitamins A, C, and K, along with a significant quantity of iron, assisting families in maintaining health during challenging periods. Yet the dandelion's utility extended further. After being dried and roasted, the roots could be ground and brewed as a coffee alternative, offering a needed stimulant for those unable to afford actual coffee. Even the flowers served a purpose. They were employed in crafting dandelion wine or jelly, providing a sweet break from everyday struggles. Dandelions represented the quintessential survival plant, easy to cultivate, hardy, and frequently available in large quantities. For those barely managing, these yellow flowers were not merely reminders of hardship. They symbolized resourcefulness and endurance. Today, as we pursue exotic superfoods, it's worthwhile to remember the modest dandelion, a weed that, during desperate times, helped transform mere survival into something far more nourishing. Sea kale. Sea kale, formerly a valued vegetable in the home gardens of Depression-era households, is now an overlooked treasure from the past. Possessing thick, juicy stalks and a pungent mustard-like taste, this coastal green was a fundamental food item that assisted many in enduring difficult periods. During the Great Depression, food shortages were widespread, prompting families to utilize any accessible resources to sustain themselves. Sea kale, which flourishes in saline coastal environments, emerged as an improbable savior. Originating in Europe, Sea kale was brought to America in the 19th century and rapidly gained popularity as a vegetable. It is a robust plant, capable of growing in less than perfect conditions, making it ideal for subsistence gardening. Its leaves and shoots could be prepared by steaming or boiling, frequently served as a side dish or incorporated into soups and stews, delivering a much-required nutritional enhancement during lean years. Sea kale is abundant in vitamins A, C, and K, along with vital minerals like calcium and iron, a potent nutrient-dense contribution to any meal. For our grandparents, sea kale represented more than just a vegetable. It symbolized resilience and adaptability. Whether gathered fresh from the garden or preserved for winter consumption, it served as a dependable source of sustenance when other food choices were limited. Presently, sea kale is infrequently found in modern supermarkets, overshadowed by more common greens. Nonetheless, this forgotten vegetable is gradually making a quiet return, particularly among enthusiasts of heirloom varieties and sustainable cultivation. Its history of survival and nutritional merit warrants renewed attention, demonstrating that sometimes the finest foods are those we have left behind. Sea kale might be forgotten, but it is certainly not extinct. Field corn. When individuals hear the word corn, they typically imagine sweet, buttered cobs cooking on a summer barbecue. However, during the Great Depression, field corn, distinct from its sweeter relative, formed the true foundation of survival. Hearty, substantial, and incredibly versatile, this rugged variety wasn't cultivated for its immediate taste off the stalk, but for its nutritional value and extended storage life once dried. Our grandparents understood that field corn was more than mere animal feed. It served as a kitchen essential. Families would gather the kernels, dry them, and process them into cornmeal, which formed the basis of numerous Depression-era dishes: cornbread, mush, Johnny cakes, and even what rendered field corn indispensable wasn't its flavor, but its practicality. It could thrive in poor soil, demanded minimal attention, and yielded large harvests, precisely what families required when every bit of food was crucial. It stood as a symbol of resilience, demonstrating that with some Good King Henry, long preceding the trendiness of kale and the inclusion of spinach in smoothies, Good King Henry quietly flourished in backyard gardens and rural farms throughout Depression-era America. Known informally as poor man's asparagus, this robust, nutrient-rich perennial was a genuine unsung hero of survival, nourishing families when finances were limited and trips to the grocery store were uncommon indulgences. A close relative of spinach and beetroot, Good King Henry produces abundant, thick leaves and tender shoots suitable for steaming, sautéing, or eating raw. The young stalks, when gathered in spring, were frequently prepared similarly to asparagus, gently boiled and served with butter or gravy. The leaves found their way into stews, were scrambled with eggs, or served as a substitute for spinach in almost any dish. It is a truly versatile plant, offering sustenance from early spring through autumn. What established it as a Depression-era essential? Firstly, its perennial nature means it returns annually with minimal upkeep. It thrives in less fertile soil, requires little care, and can withstand neglect, perfectly suited for families operating with constrained time, resources, and energy. Additionally, it is rich in iron, calcium, and vitamin C, making it a nutritional powerhouse when food scarcity rendered every calorie significant. Today, Good King Henry is almost entirely forgotten, overshadowed by modern cultivars and supermarket ease. However, as interest in heirloom vegetables and self-reliance grows, this resilient green might reclaim its status. If you desire a taste of the past, this garden treasure is ready to regain its position on your plate and remind us all of the prudence and resourcefulness our grandparents embodied. Gardens. During the Great Depression, ingenuity was paramount. Few vegetables exemplified this spirit as effectively as the carden. This spiky, large relative of the artichoke wasn't cultivated for appearance. It was grown for survival. With its tall, silvery green stalks and extensive root system, the carden prospered in poor soil and difficult climates, serving as a dependable food source when little else could grow. Though nearly obsolete today, cardons were a fixture in many Depression-era gardens, particularly among immigrant households who introduced their traditional culinary practices to America. Italians, notably, understood the potential of this vegetable, how to extract its subtle artichoke-like flavor from the fibrous stalks, converting it into creamy gratins, hearty stews, or simply frying it in olive oil with a touch of salt. Preparation required effort, trimming, peeling, soaking, but the result was a substantial, nourishing dish capable of extending over multiple meals. Cardons were neither flashy nor quick. They demanded time, patience, and some culinary skill. Yet, amidst severe economic hardship, this very quality made them invaluable. They symbolized the kind of slow, deliberate living that sustained families and preserved traditions. Presently, cardons have almost disappeared from American dining tables, replaced by more prominent, convenient vegetables. But for those who recall them, they represent resilience, a reminder of how our grandparents transformed modest crops into satisfying meals. Perhaps it's time to unearth them again, both literally and metaphorically, and restore this unsung hero of the Depression garden to prominence. Spotlight on rutabaga. Formerly an unassuming champion of the Great Depression, the rutabaga was a fundamental component in countless gardens and kitchens nationwide. A hybrid of cabbage and turnip, this substantial root vegetable endured cold weather, poor soil conditions, and extended storage, proving invaluable when finances were constrained and meals needed to be stretched. During the 1930s, families depended on rutabagas for their adaptability and dependability. Whether prepared by roasting, boiling, mashing, or adding to stews, rutabagas contributed a mildly sweet, earthy taste that satisfied hunger and enhanced nutritional intake. Rich in fiber, vitamin C, potassium, and antioxidants, they were a genuine source of strength during lean periods. What made rutabagas particularly significant was their capacity to grow where other crops struggled. Both farmers and home gardeners cultivated them extensively, confident they would yield produce even under the most challenging circumstances. And when meats were scarce, rutabagas often served as a filling main course, sometimes mashed with potatoes or included in simple broths to craft satisfying, comforting dishes. Today, rutabagas have largely vanished from contemporary menus, eclipsed by more visually appealing vegetables. However, perhaps a revival is due. Not only are they cost-effective and nutrient-dense, but they also embody the spirit of resilience, a tribute to a generation skilled in making the most of available resources. So, the next occasion you visit the farmer's market or peruse the supermarket aisles, don't overlook this forgotten treasure. Rutabagas aren't merely food, they represent history served on a plate, a reminder of how ingenuity, persistence, and a simple root vegetable helped families navigate the toughest times. Which of these grandparent-era vegetables was your favorite? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Were you aware that some of the most healthful foods from previous eras have been overlooked through time? From the traditional Waldorf salad to the nutrient-rich wheatena, these 20 vintage dishes are experiencing a resurgence and demonstrating that old concepts can become new again. Rediscover the tastes and health advantages of these enduring meals that your grandparents once savored. Have you ever considered what our forebears consumed to maintain their health? In this video, we embark on a historical exploration to reveal 20 vintage healthy foods that have faded from memory but are poised for a significant return. You might find it surprising that some of the most nutritious meals have been lost over the decades, but now is the moment to reintroduce them to our tables and infuse our modern diets with a touch of the past. So, if you're prepared to explore a fresh realm of healthy eating inspired by bygone days, be sure to click that subscribe button. Let's journey down memory lane and identify classic dishes to incorporate into our recipe collections. Waldorf salad, a Gilded Age delight. First on our healthy food journey through time, the Waldorf salad. This elegant dish originated at the luxurious Waldorf Astoria Hotel in NYC around 1896. The initial recipe was quite straightforward, featuring only apples, celery, and a generous amount of mayonnaise. However, over time, people have become inventive with this classic, incorporating everything from walnuts and grapes to chicken and raisins. The highlight? This salad is actually quite beneficial for you. Apples provide a good measure of fiber, while celery offers crunch and some vitamin K. And if you substitute a yogurt-based dressing for the mayonnaise, you have created a nutritional powerhouse. So the next time you feel a touch nostalgic, prepare a Waldorf salad and let your palate travel back to the Gilded Age. Graham bread, the health food of temperance reformers. Next, let's discuss a bread that was prominent in the health food movement of the 1800s, Graham bread. This loaf was conceived by Sylvester Graham, a temperance advocate and dietary reformer who proposed that consuming whole wheat grain products rich in bran and wheat germ could deter gluttony and immoral behavior. Quite a versatile claim. To create this wholesome bread, one would combine whole wheat flour, baking soda, salt, molasses, and sour milk or buttermilk. The outcome? A dense, substantial loaf with a subtle sweetness from the molasses. Graham bread rapidly attracted followers among temperance supporters who favored eating food in its natural form without questionable additives or chemicals. However, as processed foods gained dominance and the temperance movement declined, Graham bread faded from view. Nevertheless, it laid the groundwork for a new era of healthy eating. Wheatina, the whole grain cereal. Regarding healthy eating, have you encountered Wheatina? This whole grain cereal emerged in the 1870s and was promoted as a nutritional giant, attributed to a curious New York baker named George Hoy, who was dedicated to experimenting with toasted whole wheat. Wheatina became a genuine American pantry essential. By the lively 1920s, Wheatina was being produced in a factory in Rahway, New Jersey, where the scent of tomato aspic, the savory gelatin dish. Have you ever encountered tomato aspic? This savory gelatin creation was highly fashionable in the early 1900s, but its path from culinary favorite to retro oddity is quite intriguing. Tomato aspic appeared on the American food scene in the early 20th century, frequently served alongside vegetables or seafood. It began with a tomato broth simmered with herbs and spices to establish a flavorful foundation. Subsequently, gelatin was incorporated into the mixture, enabling it to cool and solidify into a trembling jelly-like form. Some home cooks even added embellishments like diced vegetables, seafood, or hard-boiled eggs for extra flair. Tomato aspic was considered top-notch at celebratory events and festive occasions. However, as culinary preferences shifted and convenience foods gained popularity, this once-cherished dish gradually slipped into culinary obscurity, but perhaps it is ripe for a revival. Sarsaparilla, from medicinal tonic to soft drink. Speaking of long-forgotten beverages, have you ever heard of sarsaparilla? This old-fashioned drink has a rather eventful history, evolving from its use as a medicinal remedy to its eventual status as a popular soft drink. Sarsaparilla was once promoted as a universal cure, with people hoping it would treat ailments ranging from syphilis to gonorrhea. However, sarsaparilla's true rise to prominence occurred in the mid-19th century, when astute chemists realized they could convert the root's extract into a palatable beverage by blending it with sugar water. Thus, the forerunner to root beer was created. Sarsaparilla's unique flavor profile, featuring notes of licorice, wintergreen, and a hint of medicinal quality, made it a favored option for those seeking a healthful drink. Containing saponins, polyphenols, and flavonoids, this root-based concoction was thought to reduce inflammation, enhance immunity, and even increase libido. Some proponents claimed it could diminish wrinkles and age spots, while others valued its diuretic effects for eliminating toxins. Lemon chiffon pie, the airy mousse-like dessert. Step aside, lemon meringue. A different pie has arrived, lemon chiffon pie. This light, mousse-like dessert debuted in the 1950s, introducing an unparalleled level of creamy, ethereal delight to the dessert offerings. This mousse-like creation was defined by its light, airy consistency, achieved through a clever blend of whipped egg whites and tangy lemon curd. However, don't be misled by its delicate appearance. Crafting this sweet indulgence was far from simple. Home bakers needed to blind bake the crust perfectly and prepare a smooth batch of lemon curd before gently combining everything. It was truly a labor of affection. Lemon chiffon pie rapidly became a diner favorite, with patrons queuing for a portion of this divine dessert. It even enjoyed prominence at Miami's Diner near the New Holland Tractor Factory in Pennsylvania. Yet, beyond its diner origins, this pie holds significant sentimental value for many, recalling fond memories of family events and simpler periods. New England boiled dinner, a hearty immigrant meal. Ah, the New England boiled dinner, the substantial meal that has sustained Irish immigrants and their descendants for generations. This single-pot marvel represents a genuine fusion of tastes, featuring corned beef, cabbage, and a vibrant mix of root vegetables all simmered together until exceptionally tender. The great aspect? You can adjust the ingredients based on seasonal availability, so rutabagas and beets are always welcome additions. Here's an interesting detail. The corned in corned beef doesn't refer to the familiar yellow vegetable. Instead, it relates to the large corns of rock salt used in the brining process for the meat. While corned beef is the standard choice today, historically, people utilized whatever meat was accessible, from salt pork to chicken. This satisfying dish was invaluable for struggling families, as inexpensive and readily available vegetables helped extend even the smallest portions of meat. After the main meal, leftovers were diced and transformed into a sizzling skillet of red flannel hash, often enhanced with a bit of cream and a fried egg. Ambrosia salad, the sweet southern treat. Ambrosia salad is a beloved sweet dish from the South that has adorned dessert tables since the late 19th century. This delightful blend of oranges, coconut, and sugar served as an excellent means to feature the abundant citrus fruits of the region. Over time, individuals have added creative touches to their ambrosia, incorporating everything from pineapple pieces to miniature marshmallows for added bursts of flavor and texture. Some even elevated it into an elegant molded dessert, layering the fruits and gelatin for a visually impressive presentation. However, ambrosia offers more than just aesthetic appeal. It is a dish deeply embedded in Southern culture. It is commonly found at church gatherings, family reunions, and holiday celebrations, often served alongside other traditional Southern delicacies. Although contemporary recipes might incorporate healthier substitutes like Greek yogurt, the essence of this sweet and tangy treasure endures. Date nut bread, a slice of family history. Filled with those sticky, sweet dates and crunchy nuts, date nut bread represents a nostalgic item that has featured in family recipe collections for generations. This moist, dense loaf evokes the comfort of a grandmother's hug, reassuring, familiar, and deeply satisfying. According to Melissa from Bless This Mess, her great-grandmother Ruby Graham's recipe was a cherished part of their family cookbook. However, this bread offers more than just visual appeal. It also provides significant nutritional advantages. Those wrinkled dates are rich in fiber and antioxidants, making this bread a relatively guilt-free pleasure. Furthermore, it's simple to prepare, no yeast needed. Just mix the ingredients, bake, and voila! You have a piece of nostalgia ready to be enjoyed with butter or cream cheese. So why has this traditional treat lost popularity? Attribute it to evolving tastes and trends. But believe me, one taste of this moist, sweet bread will leave you questioning why it ever fell out of favor. Borscht, the beet soup with deep cultural roots. Regarding soups with substantial historical significance, borscht stands out. This vividly red soup, typically prepared with beets, potatoes, and occasionally meat, has been a fundamental dish in Ukrainian and Russian cuisine for centuries. Indeed, recipe records indicate that Ukrainians were the first to incorporate beetroot into borscht back in the 14th century. Yet borscht is more than just an attractive dish. It also offers significant nutritional benefits. Beets are abundant in vitamins and minerals, rendering the soup a wholesome option. With regional adaptations including everything from unripe plums to fermented bases, there exists a borscht variety to suit every palate. Naturally, borscht represents more than a mere tasty meal. It is a cultural emblem that has been central to some intense discussions. Regardless of your stance on its origins, one fact remains undeniable. This soup possesses remarkable endurance. Codfish balls, the forgotten fish dish. If you appreciate simple yet fulfilling dishes, then codfish balls are worth trying. These small portions of salted and dried codfish combined with potatoes, onions, and spices have been a mainstay in Portuguese cuisine for centuries. In fact, salt cod, known as bacalhau, is regarded as Portugal's national dish. However, codfish balls were not only popular in Portugal, they once appeared on the menus of prestigious hotels like the Waldorf Astoria and even Cunard line vessels. During the 1910s, codfish was served in numerous forms, from creamy codfish on toast to fried codfish balls, accompanied by tangy tomato sauce. So, what led to the decline of this forgotten fish preparation? As lighter breakfast choices and convenient foods like cereal gained prominence in the early 20th century, codfish balls unfortunately lost favor. However, I believe it's high time to reintroduce this protein-rich item to our tables. Jell-O salad, the mid-20th century icon. If you seek a dish that epitomizes mid-20th century American culture, the iconic Jell-O salad is the prime example. These wobbly, jiggly concoctions were extremely popular during the 1950s and 60s, appearing on buffet tables and at social events nationwide. Featuring countless variations with everything from suspended fruits and vegetables to more unconventional additions like olives and cabbage, there existed a Jell-O salad for every event. Yet these gelatinous creations represented more than just novelty. They also mirrored the convenience-focused food culture of that period. As more women balanced domestic responsibilities with employment after World War II, easily prepared items like instant gelatin became kitchen essentials. Creating an elaborate Jell-O salad served as a method to transform these simple ingredients into something appropriate for family meals and community potlucks. Naturally, while some Jell-O salad combinations might seem unusual today, the influence of this mid-century icon on American cuisine is undeniable, and perhaps, with some imagination, you might discover a new favorite within this overlooked culinary trend. Watercress sandwiches, the healthful ancient green. If you are searching for a leafy green celebrated for its health benefits since ancient times, watercress is the answer. This peppery plant has been favored by diverse groups, from Persian soldiers to Hippocrates, the father of medicine, who cultivated wild watercress near natural springs around 400 BC to address blood disorders. Even the crews under Captain James Cook depended on this vitamin-rich vegetable to prevent scurvy during their global voyages. However, watercress is not solely a medicinal wonder, it also makes a flavorful addition to any meal. A traditional method of enjoying this superfood is in a straightforward watercress sandwich, often combined with cream cheese or butter for a pleasing crunch. With contemporary research emphasizing its potential cancer-fighting properties, there has never been a more opportune moment to revive our appreciation for this ancient green. Bircher muesli, the Swiss nutritious breakfast. If you're seeking a breakfast that has endured through time, Bircher muesli is difficult to surpass. This nourishing blend was initially created by Swiss physician Maximilian Bircher Brenner in the early 1900s. The esteemed doctor advocated for feeding his patients a diet rich in fresh fruits, nuts, and whole grains. His original formula included rolled oats soaked in water or milk, combined with grated apples, nuts, lemon juice, and condensed milk. Muesli quickly gained popularity as a delicious and adaptable breakfast choice in Switzerland. As travel and communication advanced in the mid-20th century, its appeal spread rapidly across Europe. In Germany, it adopted the name muesli and began integrating local components like berries and nuts. Yet muesli's attraction didn't end there. The health food movement of the 1960s and 70s helped it establish a presence in North America and Australia. where health-aware individuals were attracted to its wholesome ingredients and simple preparation. Today, you can find numerous inventive variations on the classic, ranging from smoothie bowls to personalized mixtures, incorporating everything from tropical fruits to yogurt and honey. Rice pudding, a creamy classic. If one comfort food has truly withstood the passage of time, it must be rice pudding. This creamy traditional dish has been a staple in cultures worldwide for centuries, and justifiably so. It's not only tasty but also surprisingly nutritious. While preparation methods differ globally, the fundamental elements remain fairly consistent. Rice, milk, and a hint of sweetness simmered until thick and creamy. So, what is it about this modest dish that keeps us returning? Firstly, it's rich in essential vitamins and minerals such as B1, B2, potassium, and magnesium. Additionally, if prepared with cow's milk, it provides an extra supply of vitamins A, D, E, and K, plus calcium, iodine, and zinc. Quite impressive for a dessert, wouldn't you agree? But let's be honest, we don't consume rice pudding solely for its nutritional value. There's an inherent appeal in its smooth, creamy consistency and gentle sweetness that consistently satisfies, whether embellished with cinnamon and fresh fruit or kept simple with a dusting of sugar. It's the kind of dish that reliably pleases. Cottage cheese with pineapple, the mid-20th century. Health food. If any vintage health food combination epitomizes the 1950s and 60s, it must be cottage cheese and pineapple. This pairing emerged as a popular light meal or snack during the dieting trend of the mid-20th century. Indeed, by the early 1970s, Americans were consuming an average of 5 lbs of cottage cheese. So, what propelled this combination? However, as dietary preferences shifted and yogurt gained prominence, cottage cheese was relegated to a secondary role. Despite its traditional appeal and notable health benefits, many contemporary consumers struggled with its texture. As cottage cheese enthusiast Mary Scott Bogetz noted, it's not as smooth as yogurt, and that can be a turnoff for some people. Nevertheless, the enduring appeal of this classic pairing is undeniable, and perhaps, with some innovative marketing and appealing new variations, cottage cheese and pineapple could be set for a significant resurgence. Kefir, the fermented milk drink. If you seek a tangy, probiotic-rich beverage with considerable vintage appeal, kefir is the answer. This fermented milk drink originates from the rugged Caucasus Mountains in Eastern Europe, where shepherds initially discovered its properties. The transformation occurs when kefir grains, a mixture of yeast and beneficial bacteria, are introduced to cow, goat, or sheep milk. These microorganisms proceed to convert lactose into lactic acid and enrich the liquid with numerous nutrients. So, what makes kefir noteworthy? Firstly, it contains approximately 12 active probiotic strains that can significantly enhance gut health. Additionally, it is rich in protein, calcium, B vitamins, and other beneficial compounds that support bone strength and immune function. Consider this: even if you are lactose intolerant, kefir might become a valuable addition to your diet. The fermentation process decomposes the problematic lactose, improving its digestibility. Currently, kefir is attracting renewed interest from health-focused individuals looking to diversify their probiotic intake. As registered dietitian Amber Summers states, like other foods that contain probiotics, good bacteria, and postbiotics, bacteria byproducts, kefir boosts gut health and provides a number of other health benefits. Vintage health foods making a comeback. It's unsurprising that it has been associated with benefits ranging from improved blood sugar regulation to reduced stress levels. However, kefir isn't the sole vintage health food experiencing a resurgence currently. Another ancient grain is gaining traction in the culinary sphere: bulgur wheat. This rapidly cooking ancient grain has long been a staple in Middle Eastern cuisine, but it has recently generated significant interest within the health food community. So, what's notable about bulgur? Firstly, it's incredibly convenient. Unlike some whole grains that require lengthy cooking times, bulgur cooks quickly. This is because it has been pre-cooked, dried, and fractured into smaller fragments. Furthermore, if soaked in water, it doesn't even require cooking, a genuine time saver. Yet bulgur offers more than just convenience. It also boasts substantial nutritional advantages. This whole grain is abundant in fiber, protein, and minerals like iron and magnesium. Additionally, it possesses a lower glycemic index compared to other grains, meaning it won't cause drastic fluctuations in blood sugar levels. So why did bulgur recede from prominence? As other grains such as quinoa and farro gained popularity, bulgur was somewhat sidelined. However, with increasing numbers of people seeking variety in their grain consumption, this Middle Eastern classic is poised for a significant return. Regarding classic dishes staging a comeback, another retro salad has been attracting attention lately, centered around beans, three-bean salad. This straightforward marinated dish was a standard at picnics, potlucks, and buffets during the 1950s and 60s. The reason is clear, featuring a trio of canned beans such as kidney, wax, and green, along with chopped onion and bell pepper. This salad was effortless to prepare. The key lay in the dressing, a zesty mixture of oil, vinegar, and sugar that unified the components. However, three-bean salad offered more than visual appeal. It was also a nutritional powerhouse, delivering significant amounts of fiber and protein. Furthermore, it traveled well, as noted by food columnist Dorothy Dean in 1957, making it ideal for outdoor events. Impressively, it could be prepared in advance and stored in the refrigerator for several days. So, why did this tasty salad fade from popularity? Perhaps as pre-made versions became available in stores during the 60s and 70s, people simply grew accustomed to the convenience. But rest assured, three-bean salad is set for a major revival. After all, historical trends often re-emerge, correct? Speaking of traditional cooking techniques, experiencing a resurgence. Another retro method generating considerable interest lately is poached fish. This reliable technique dates back to ancient times. Poaching fish entails gently simmering it in a flavorful liquid, which not only maintains the flesh's moisture and tenderness, but also imparts significant flavor. Interestingly, various liquids can be used for poaching fish, from standard water or broth to more inventive choices like wine, milk, or even coconut milk. Yet poaching offers more than just taste. It's also an extremely healthy method for preparing fish. Unlike pan-frying or roasting, poaching necessitates no additional fats or oils, meaning you receive all the nutritional advantages of the fish without extra calories. Additionally, the gentle cooking process helps retain the delicate omega-3 fatty acids that make fish such a nutritional powerhouse. So why did poaching lose favor? Perhaps because it demands slightly more skill than simply placing a fillet in a pan. However, with increasing numbers of people aiming to eat healthier without compromising flavor, this ancient technique is poised for a significant return. And when selecting fish ideal for poaching, salmon is hard to beat. Its strong flavor truly stands out with this simple preparation method. So there you have it, gentlemen, a diverse array of vintage foods just waiting to be rediscovered. From the creamy, delightful Waldorf salad to the zesty and vibrant three-bean salad, we've covered substantial ground on this flavorful journey through the past. But here's the crucial point. These forgotten foods aren't merely relics of bygone eras. They are also filled with nutrients and flavors that can significantly enhance our contemporary eating habits. Consider it. By substituting some of our usual modern meal components with these traditional options, we can provide our bodies with a substantial health boost while also diversifying our typical menus. And perhaps you might even discover a new family favorite among them, so why not draw inspiration from Grandma's cookbook and experiment with some of these vintage dishes? Believe me, both your palate and your well-being will benefit. And if you're eager for more nostalgic culinary explorations, make sure to view our video on 20 famous desserts that have faded into history. Featuring items from Jell-O pudding pops to baked Alaska, it's a delightful trip down memory lane you won't want to miss.